Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be our third question for our MRS21 Fall 2020 Test 1 review questions. Okay, and so here we're factoring completely. And so keep in mind you have to show work for this. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's post my whatever is factored afterwards. Just, I'm not going to show work. I need to show work for this, ladies and gentlemen. And so how do we do this? Well, take a look at each one, and we see in this case the first one has four terms, and usually when you see four terms of factor, that usually is a dead giveaway for a factor by grouping. Not always, but in this situation, it will be for us. We see in this case that these two terms have something in common, and so these two terms. So we're going to group them together and find the GCF for each one. That's what we really do for the factor by grouping. We find the GCF twice and then one more time. So here we go. So we have, in this case, the greatest common factor for the first two terms going to be q, leaving us with p squared minus 25. Oh, not bad. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that we really want to do with factor by grouping, we really want to make sure that we have basically the same, second factor to match it with, what we get left over factor to match it with the one for before. So we want to end up with a p squared minus 25 for the second one as well. Let's take a look. Well, between 3p squared and minus 75, it looks like the GCF, or the greatest common factor, will be plus 3. So we have plus 3. And if we divide 3p squared by 3, we get p squared. And if you divide negative 75 by 3, you get negative 25. All right, worked out great, because we have a p squared minus 25 for both of them, which means now the GCF for these two will be, for the two terms, in this case, q times p squared minus 25, and the 3 times p squared minus 25, the GCF will be p squared minus 25, leaving us with q plus 3. Now, looks good, but remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're supposed to factor completely. So this question with 5 points, this portion up to here would be worth only up to 3 points because the factor by grouping is worth 3. You might be asking, why? Well, the p squared minus 25 is a perfect square minus perfect square, or difference to perfect squares. And so to handle that, we're going to now express p squared minus 25 as take the square root of each term. So the square root of p squared is p, and that goes in the front. And the square root of 25 is 5, and that goes in the back for each one. And of course, each one is a plus, and one's a minus. So we have p plus 5 times p minus 5 equals to p squared minus 25. But let's not forget, the other portion of this would be the q plus 3. So the answer for number 1, fully factored, would be p plus 5 times p minus 5 times q plus 3. All right, be very careful. Look out for that, ladies and gentlemen. Look out for that. That's a possibility, something to look out for. It's not just factor by grouping, but is there something to factor later on? Okay, so let's move on. And for number 2, 6x squared plus 23x plus 20, well, there's no GCF, besides 1, of course. And it's trinomial, so it's not going to have a difference of perfect squares. But we also notice in this case that the a value for x squared is not 1. So we're going to use that little x chart we use here, where in this case we find a, c, and this is b. So we want to find, in this case, the a and c values multiplied together. Well, we know that a in this case is 6, b is 23, and c is 20. Okay, so a times c is going to be 6 times 20, which is 120. And b is 23. And so what we want to do in this case is we want to find the two numbers that multiply to 120 and add to 23. That's going to help us figure out how to factor. And so let's make a list. And then, ladies and gentlemen, this is the work you want to show, making a list of numbers that multiply to 120 and add to 23. Well, first off, the numbers multiply to 120. So that's be 1 and 120, 2 and 60, 3 and 40, 4 and 30. We're going to have 5 and 24. 6 and 20. Now 7 doesn't go in there, but 8 does divide evenly to 120 15 times. And then 9 doesn't go into 120, but 10 does, 10 times 12. So these are all the pairs of numbers that multiply to 120, okay? And so we want the ones that add to, not only multiply 120, but add to 23. So not going to be this one, not because that's 121. This is 62. This is 43. This is 34. Those numbers don't add up to 23. This adds 29. We're getting closer though. This adds 26. Yeah, 23. Here we go. But and this is 22. So definitely going to have 15 and 8. So those numbers we're looking for. Now, those are not the numbers that go into the back of the parenthesis though. Instead, we're going to rewrite the expression 6x squared plus 23x plus 20 using the numbers 15 and 8. And so in this case, when we write this, we definitely get 6x squared plus 15x. That's where we get this here using the 15, and it becomes the x value in the middle, plus 8x, that's the second number we found, plus 20. Because in this case, remember, the 15 and the 8 add up to 23, making this 23x. So 15x plus 8x equals 23x. And so now we set this up and use what we learned before about a factor by grouping. So we're going to, and nice thing is that these should be grouped all right together. So our greatest common factor for 6x squared and 15x, well, it looks like to be 3x. Our remaining factor would be 2x plus 5. Okay, how we know? 3x times 2x, 6x squared. 3x times 5 is 15x. Now let's look at the greatest common factor for 8x plus 20. Think 4, plus 4 actually. So here we have plus 4. And so now we see in this case, the leftover factors are 2x plus 5. Nice, because these are the same. And again, using our GCF, 2x plus 5. And then the leftover parts are 3x plus 4. We now have our fully factored form of 2x plus 5 times 3x plus 4. And that's how we factor number 2. Okay, now let's take a look at number 3. Now number 3, in this case, again, we always begin with look for the greatest common factor if there is one. And so we see 2y squared minus 16y plus 32 all have a common factor of 2. Leave me with a main factor of y squared minus 8y plus 16. Now, if you leave it this way, you have not fully factored or factored completely. Definitely you got the 2 out for the greatest common factor, but we can still factor the y squared minus 8y plus 16. All right? And so now we're looking for two numbers that multiply the 16. You can use this thing here before. Multiply the 16. Okay? And add to negative 8. Why 16? 1 times 16 is 16. So you see what numbers multiply 16. Well, I know it's definitely 1 and 16, 2 and 8. Okay, and maybe 4 and 4. That's it. Okay, so now here it could be, in this case, because it adds a negative 8. It could be 1 and 16, but it could also be negative 1 and negative 16 because, we want a negative sum. So not that one. Negative 2 and negative 8, that gives me negative 10. No, but negative 4 and negative 4, that looks like the way to go. Okay? And it kind of works out. The nice thing about this is that instead of having to do the factor by grouping, this negative 4 and negative 4 will be the terms at the end of our two parentheses, because our coefficient for y squared is 1. And you can double check here by doing -4 plus -4 is -8, the middle term, and -4 times -4 is +16. And then the whole thing multiplies to y squared minus 8y plus 16 times 2. Distributing this, we get 2y squared minus 16y plus 32, which is what we want to get. So our final answer is going to be 2 parenthesis y minus 4 times y minus 4. Okay, ladies and gentlemen? All right. So let me just make this full screen so you guys can see this now. You need to show your work for each of these questions. You just can't put the factor form without showing the steps involved. All right? Very important to break down everything for us for our test because the work is more important than the answer itself. All right, ladies and gentlemen? All right, so that's the end of our review for test one. And not that long of a test, but definitely a lot of parts to our test and all things to keep in mind. And so make sure you show all the work. Make sure that when you're working on these, you make sure everything is neat, and when you send your answers in, that they're clear, okay? And hopefully, don't wait till the last minute to send them in because of anything terrible might happen. You might lose your internet, you might lose power somewhere, whatever. Just make sure it's handed in before the end of Friday, okay, 11:59 p.m. Right? So the questions will be posted pretty early in the morning, okay, pretty early in the morning, or very late at night in the day before. So just know that's to happen though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching. Give us a like if you found this helpful. Even if you're not in my class taking this exam and you just want to factor the different methods of factoring, just definitely take a look and hope it's helpful. Just hopefully something that's within your ability. You'll learn how to do this and all now. All right, and good luck on your exams for everyone in my class. All right, thanks so much for watching. Take care and be safe.